2018 Cumberland County Commissioners Workshop Meeting. Please stand and join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Order at 9 a.m. and at this time I go for public comment. Okay, hearing none, seeing none, we'll move on to agenda items number 3 and 4 and call on Dana Bass regarding discussion of budget resolutions 2018-2 and 2018-3. And then the budget resolution 2018-3 regarding the budget adjustment. Thanks.
Dana, before you start, just want to announce to folks, Commissioner Herschel is on the phone here, so I just asked that you speak loudly and clearly so that we can understand and hear what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you all.
ARD is requesting to increase revenues and expenses by $56,544 based on their actual collections. ARD is required to transfer all their funds to drug and alcohol and in prison at the year end. We did release this adjustment in order to close our books, and then following up with this adjustment after the fact. Criminal justice and intermediate punishment is increasing revenues and expenses by $391,323 for the opioid intervention court. $150,000 of that is for PCCD, $200,000 AOPC, and $41,323 for the Department of Drug and Alcohol programs.
Are there any questions for Dana?
For these, never mind, just answer my question. The first one is a 2018 resolution, but it's for 2017.
17's budget.
All right, good.
And it was just a journal entry, there was no cash that left.
Okay.
Thank you, Dana. Next, we'll move on to agenda item number 5, contracts and grants. Agenda items 5, Roman numeral 1, A and B are existing contracts, contract extensions, or addenda with no additional cost or increase to the county. They include the following departments: children and youth, and liquid fuels finance agreement. Commissioners, do you have any questions, comments, or concerns regarding any of the above-mentioned agreements? Okay, hearing none, we'll move on to agenda item 5, Roman numeral 2, which consists of contracts, new contracts, vendor services, grants, and contracts with increases and decreases to the county. And we'll begin by calling on Lisa Ryder to discuss the 5 agreements for children and youth. Lisa?
Good morning, Commissioners. We have asked for approval of 5 contracts for fiscal year 17-18. First one's Milton Hershey Medical Center. This is a new contract. We've been sending a lot of cases down there for abuse cases for medical reviews. Excuse me. And they charge a rate of $100 per hour for a medical review. These are very important, especially if they go to appeals. The second one is Bear Foundation. We contracted with them for foster care services. They are asking anywhere from a 2.94% increase to a 4.38% increase. This increase is $2.50 across the board, and it's going to go directly to foster parents to care for the children they have in their homes. The foster parents haven't seen an increase in their per diems in over 10 years. They did originally ask for a $5 increase, and we brought it down to a $2.50 increase. The next one is George Junior Republic. This is used by both children and youth and juvenile probation. They're asking for a 2% increase across the board, which equates to $1.45 to $5.90 per day, depending on the service. We typically have maybe 1 or 2 kids there, and probation usually typically has 1 or 2 kids there. They take the more difficult kids that we have trouble finding placements for. The next one is Diacon Family Services. They did not ask for any increases in their foster care system. However, they did add medically needy rates for their foster care programs. And also the in-home services, they did ask for a rate increase, 2.57% or 3.4%, which is a $5 increase. This is in their CenterPoint day treatment programs. It's an in-home service where they go get their educational needs met. The last increase in this service was in fiscal year 11-12. So they haven't had an increase for numerous years. And then the last one is United Methodist Home for Children. They asked for a 5% increase, which is $10.50. This is a group home placement. They initially asked for this rate increase last fiscal year for 16-17. We did not grant it last year. However, we're willing to grant it this year. Their maximum approved rate by the state is $283 to operate. We're actually contracting with them for $220, which is substantially lower, and it is still one of the lower costing group homes that we utilize. And they're right here in our back door, so we have kids local and it's easier for them to visit their families. We typically have 2 to 6 kids there. Any questions?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next we'll move on to agenda item B. There's a coroner agreement with the PA task force, which has been reviewed by the commissioners prior to the workshop meeting. Commissioners, you don't have any questions on that?
Just to clarify, this amendment is simply an increase in the amount of funding that's available, so we may actually get more. The original contract, I believe, was okayed in 2016.
Not before.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, this was coming to us, the electronic acknowledgement. First we didn't know what the heck it was, and finally figured it out. I'm okay with it.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Next, we'll move on to agenda item C and call Michelle Seibert to discuss the agreement for the district attorney's office regarding Cody Cobra system. Michelle?
Good morning. It's my understanding that Matt Smith talked to you about this before Christmas. And, I would say not the official approval, but got your permission to apply for the contract for the Cody Cobra system. The majority that funded out of our forfeiture funds and the remainder sponsored by the police departments.
Are there any questions for Michelle?
Keith, have you reviewed it? I did. Okay, and Dana, this forfeiture funding, I'm trying to recall, I thought we had a discussion on this. This does not impact the general fund.
Correct. Well, and I'm not sure how we're setting it up. I believe we're setting it up to pay it out of the general fund and the forfeiture account to reimburse us, I believe. I'm not 100% positive. Sometimes they pay it direct out of the
Because I
forfeiture.
think that was our condition.
Right. Either way, the net impact will be zero to the general fund. It's just whether it's just paid from us.
Jim, did you hear all that?
Yeah, I mean, I just want to, it says on the contract, it says available budget and it's checked yes. Is this, again, I'll ask the question, so I get if you will, reaffirmation of what I thought I heard. This is not, funding that would be coming out of the general fund.
In the end, it won't affect the general fund.
The net impact will be zero. We may have to pay it out of the general fund. I don't, that was one of the questions that were still unanswered. A lot of times with the drug task force, when it's a contract like this, we'll pay it up front, and then the drug task force will reimburse us.
Okay, well, this is where we just need to have that, a notation, if you will, because that is not what, we did not agree to take it out of the general fund, or from property taxpayer, supported funding. This is supposed to be coming out of the forfeiture fund, and that was our understanding, in our agreement on this.
And that's what's going to happen, Jim.
Okay, all right. On these forms, I just, we're in the contract approval process form.
Yeah.
It might be helpful if we put that information right on the form.
And this is a 1-year contract.
Correct, it is just.
Yeah. Okay.
On the expense request form, it says to be paid from DA forfeiture account with reimbursement from local agencies.
Any other questions?
Where does it say that? I'm looking at the form.
It's on the capital form.
Capital project and non-routine expense request form.
I don't believe you have that page, Jim.
Yeah, I don't-
Okay, well, yeah, I mean, I can't see that, but as long as somebody has it, I just think it's important that when we're saying whether there's money available, it'd be helpful if the form indicated where it's coming from.
Normally, there's contract Lawson paperwork with it, and that does state where the funds are coming from.
This is not unusual practice for us.
No, this is not unusual.
Are we okay to move on?
Yes.
Thanks, Michelle.
Thank you, Michelle.
Agenda item D, Jack Carroll's here to discuss the agreement between drug and alcohol and AFT recovery and veteran support services. Thanks, Jack.
Good morning, Commissioners. I'm asking this morning for your approval of a new contract with the Just for Today Recovery Center in Lemoyne. We want to partner with them to be a key player in our warm handoff program in working with the 3 hospitals in Cumberland County. It's part of our response to the opioid health crisis. This contract would be for the balance of our fiscal year, so January 1 through June 30th, 2018. And it's in the amount of $91,940. We will be purchasing the equivalent of 2 full-time staff members. Will actually be 1 full-time, 2 part-time. But more importantly than that, it will also help us access a cadre or a core of certified recovery specialists who will be available on an on-call basis to travel to the emergency rooms and meet and do brief intervention work with overdose survivors. This is a project that we're able to fund entirely out of our state and federal funds, so there won't be any need to draw on general fund monies.
Are there any questions for Jack?
Well, I just want to comment, Jack, this is excellent, and I do think, I don't know whether any media is present at our meeting here today, but I think this would be good to do a press release on, and also to be included in what we hope will be all the different things that we're doing, in Cumberland County to address the opioid crisis. So I think this is worth a press release, is all I'm saying.
Okay, very good. We are at the tentative stages in just putting the contract in place. And part of our initial priority will be reaching out to each of the 3 hospitals to establish the parameters of our working relationship. So,
I just think what you outlined there, Jack, is hopefully maybe enough information to work up a press release and get something out to the public on it.
okay. We can work with the Communications Department to do that.
Any other questions?
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Jack.
No, I'm good.
Thanks, Jack.
Next, we'll move on to agenda item number E. There are 2 agreements for human resources. Jennifer Cat will discuss the Hyrel agreement, and Holly Sherman will discuss the agreement with Lincoln Financial. Hope you connect.
The Hyrel system is the county's job posting and applicant tracking system. We are currently limited to 19 job postings at a time. Over the last couple of months, we have found us needing more than 19 jobs, so what we've been doing is pausing certain ones. We have realized that's not the best practice because we have to pause jobs that we need to fill. So for an additional $200 a month, we can post up to 29 jobs at a time, and it allows us to change month based on a need. So if we need to do 19, we'll pay for 19. If we need to go up to 29, we'll pay for 29. So it gives us that flexibility to post what we need. So we did an additional $2,400 a month if we went up to 29 jobs for the entire year. So
2,400 a year.
yes, if we went the whole year with 29 posts. And the nursing company, we would pick up that additional cost, and that's most of the postings that that's driving the increase in numbers.
Thank you. The contract with Lincoln Financial Group is for our employee base life, AD&D, short-term disability, and long-term disability. It is a 2-year contract with a 17% decrease for those 2 years.
Any questions for Holly?
17% decrease.
Yes, so our prior contract was actually a 3-year contract. This is a 2-year contract. It's a dollar difference of about $594,000 decrease. Our rates went down significantly in short-term disability, which is one of the more expensive benefits on that contract.
It's pretty big.
Any questions?
Thank you.
Next, we'll move on to agenda item F, and calling Lincoln College to join us today to discuss the MHID agreement for fiscal year 2017-18 for intellectual and developmental disabilities. Linda?
This is for And Venture, which is doing business as links to care. It's for in-home LPN services for consumers that did not have a waiver funding at the time that we had to start the service. So the person has since gotten a waiver, so I don't even think we'll expend the whole $32,000 that we put into the contract.
Any questions for Linda? Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
We'll move on to agenda item number G. And Stephanie Williams is joining us via video teleconferencing to discuss the 3 land partnership program agreements, followed by agenda item number 6 regarding discussion of the certification of funding for the 2018 Farmland Preservation Program. Stephanie?
Okay, good morning. Yes, the 3 land partnership agreements are actually grants that were previously approved by the Board of Commissioners back on September 11th. So the first is to Mount Holly Springs Borough for $12,000 for development of a new Veterans Park along Mountain Creek. The second is to Mechanicsburg Borough for $14,390 for improvements to the Mechanicsburg Community Swimming Pool. And the third is to the Craighead House Association, $25,980 for development of a parking area, handicapped restrooms, and landscaping at the Craighead House. And one of the things we emphasize there is they also provide for access to the Yellow Breeches Creek to canoe and kayak.
Any questions for Stephanie on those agreements? Okay, Stephanie, you can move on to the next agenda item.
Okay, well, it's January again and time to do our farmland certification. Every year we must put in writing to the Department of Ag how much funds we intend to allocate to the farmland preservation program. We did previously have a discussion back in November at a finance meeting about a general fund allocation. So I've filled out the form in accordance to our previous discussion, which $500,000 general fund dollars. We also received $2,950 in private donations to the program that can be allocated. $62,368 in clean and green rollback tax penalties, and finally nearly $42,000 in interest on a 25-year installment purchase agreement for the Hornbaker Farm. So that makes a total of $607,145 to be certified for 2018.
Stephanie, do you know how many years are left on the Hornbaker installment?
I believe it's less than 10 more years. Perhaps Dana can answer that.
You just brainstormed. I know you can't see that.
I believe it's 2020.
2020, okay.
And we do have a treasury strip to pay the loan amount. So we pay the interest all along. The state gave us a treasury strip. It'll mature the year that the payment is due at $715,000. I believe it's soon.
Any other questions? Thank you, Stephanie.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Stephanie.
Next, we move on to agenda item number 8, and I'm sorry, 7, missed it. And call on Greg Miller to discuss the capital project request for adult probation. Greg?
Good morning.
Morning.
Just a request for a new adult probation caged secure car to replace the car that we turned over to the county for the carpool, so that they could use one 2007 Ford Taurus we turned over to the county.
And I believe, Commissioners, you've got their 5-year plan. I think we sent that all to you and everything, so you should have all that information.
So we're on the regular schedule that way. Yes.
So, do you have any other questions? Okay,
Yeah, Greg, I do have a question for you. This vehicle that has been turned over, is being turned over to the maintenance car pool, 2007 Ford Taurus. You mentioned, I think, that it doesn't have an awful lot of miles on it. You're requesting a caged vehicle as opposed to the current situation, is that right?
That's correct, Commissioner, and the car has already been turned over to the carpool. It's been signed off on, and it's already in the fleet to be used, and it's out at the county garage as we speak. And the reason why the mileage was low is because it was an unsecured car, it was one of our older cars, and due to our situations of our arrests and everything else we have to do, it just wasn't safe. So that's why we decided to go. We need to go with the caged vehicle, just like all our other vehicles for county probation.
Okay, and I guess there was the concern has to do with security of probation personnel.
That's correct, Commissioner. Security for persons as we transport for our arrests or whatever all the details that we have on our routine business.
Okay. My question has more to do with when that was purchased originally. Was that considered, or was that not necessary at the time, or what?
I was not involved in the administrative aspect at that time. That was under another chief, and I was not a supervisor that was in control of the vehicle fleet at that time, sir. So I can't answer your question.
All right. The vehicle that you turned over, could that be outfitted with, the necessary, whatever the case is?
As we looked into it, they said no because of the year. It was a 2007, and they have gone beyond that, and they said it would cost a tremendous amount of money if they had to do specified fittings for that particular vehicle.
And those fittings would have cost more than a new car?
Probably not more than a new car, but it still would have been a secure force. It's a smaller 2007 Ford Taurus to begin with. It's not a very large car to begin with.
Any other questions, Jim? Apparently not. Okay. Thank you, Greg.
Yes.
We'll move on to agenda item number 8, and call on Commissioner Hertzler, who will be discussing the reappointment for the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Board.
Yeah, I was going to include this in my liaison report, but there apparently is a vacancy that, or a term expiration needs to be refilled, and there is a recommendation to reappoint Beth Ellis. So if there's no objections, I'll be, I think we can move that forward on Tuesday.
Thank you, Jim. Next, we move on to the Commissioner's Liaison Report, and begin with Commissioner DeFilippo.
Yeah, I'll start with Cumberland County Emergency Services Action Panel. Commissioner Eichelberger and I attended this meeting last night, and there was a large amount of information shared that my notes look like a 6-year-old put them together. So I'm going to just try to hit the highlights here and come back with a more detailed report at another time. One of the things that was mentioned was that the PA FirstNet system will be a standalone voice data network, and how it was explained to us that it's a network that won't be affected by other networks that could take up space and data, so that things will continue to flow smoothly. Another thing that was announced that the National Weather Service has a new snow squall warning procedure, which is already being used and found to be very helpful to the folks who were at the meeting last night. There was an update on the lock zone situation. There was an announcement yesterday, a governor's declaration that now allows EMS folks to disperse the lock zone. And we found out last night that we got some additional doses that can be used for 2018, 312 doses available. Since this program started, 202 doses have been administered with an 86.1% success rate. So we're pretty pleased about that. There were some updates on the CAD interfaces. Everything's working well for the fire and EMS. As you know, we do have an issue with the WebCAD. And speaking to Bob Shively, the vendor has personnel there at the actual public safety building. It has been, and we apparently got their ear thanks to the letter our solicitor sent them. We are getting some cooperation. There was a lot here. There was one other item, Gary, I'll ask for some assistance for you here. There apparently, it's either Act 72 or Act 172 that is I'll call it a credit, an earned income credit that can be obtained for those who serve as volunteer firefighters. The law was recently simplified. It's supposed to be an incentive for firefighters. And I believe we are going to try to get this on a future municipal advisory board meeting to hopefully get some more interest from other municipalities. That's pretty much what I have as the highlights, Gary. I might have some other things to mention as well.
I think you covered most of them, but Jim, I know you were very tuned in on the Act 172 previously when it was enacted, and I guess it was not reauthorized by the Commonwealth and kind of faded away, but Jim Salter spoke to it last night and said that it's much more simplified and much more appealing to some of the local companies because administering it should be easier. And they're proceeding on that, but they would like to, obviously, because they have firefighters from outside their municipal boundary, as do most of the companies, they'd like help in pushing the word out so that we can get this essentially adopted on a much broader basis.
Gary, the only difference, I think, if I understand it correctly, is that the previous program was actually a credit against your state income taxes of up to $100. This new law that was passed, I believe, applies only to local earned income tax, and/or I'm not sure whether it includes property taxes, but I guess a number of our municipalities have already or have moved forward, at least from what I was hearing from COG, in implementing this, this at the local level. But I think it would be an excellent topic at one of our municipal advisory board meetings, to kind of encourage. I don't know, because we don't collect at the county level the income tax, so I don't know whether or not there's any way for us to grant relief to active volunteers. But it is something that I think that would be good. And again, I'd like to see the restoration of the legislation that provides for state income tax credit as well. I think my feeling on it, and we've talked about it for many years, is these dedicated volunteers don't get paid for what they do. At the very least, they deserve a tax break. And it doesn't necessarily, in my view, it shouldn't necessarily just be restricted to local municipal taxes. I think the state should come forward with the reenactment of a state income tax credit for these folks too.
Yeah, Chief Salter just mentioned about some of the record keeping that was necessary. Some of the the way he described it, it sounded like they streamlined some of the process in terms of meeting the threshold of qualifying. So that some of the companies that may have shied away in the past thought it was too much trouble for the relative small size of the break. They might be more willing, but
I think also that the State Department of Revenue made it extremely difficult, you know, in the initial launch of that program. But you're right. I mean, it might have been also the, you know, some of the key was to make certain that it was really those volunteers who were really doing the work,
right,
and are active, that, you know, get the benefit of the break, and not just going to joining the fire company and signing up and I'm a member and now I get a break, a tax break. The idea was to make sure they're active members. And you know, you don't necessarily have to fight fires either. You could be involved in, you know, administration of a fire company. You could be involved in maintenance of equipment and facilities. You know, but it sounds good. I'm glad at least we got the local tax, but it's an optional thing at the local level, and I think it would be good for us to bring it up at one of the municipal advisory board meetings. It's not a big, you know, I don't think it's a big cost on the municipalities, and you know, anything we can do to encourage volunteerism, I think is important. It's critical.
I think most of the municipalities will recognize it's a lot cheaper than pay for firefighters.
Absolutely.
It doesn't have as much effect, obviously. But yeah, Chief Salter's request to us was simply to help push word out on it and maybe provide for some feedback. So our role's almost strictly informational. That's certainly something we can do.
It will be a good topic for MAB, for sure. Okay, moving on to my next report is Western Cumberland Council of Governments. Not a lot new, pretty much business as usual. However, they had a guest speaker, Jennifer Johnson from Fair Districts, Pennsylvania. As you know, Capital Cog did produce a resolution favoring the more appropriate redistricting of voter precincts. Jennifer Johnson gave a brief presentation on the initiative, the Senate bill and the House bill, and we had a pretty lively discussion. And the COG is going to go to their individual members and then discuss it, and hopefully come back at a future time with some type of resolution. So that was it for Western COG. One other one here. Actually, it's not a liaison report. I just want to report that I represented the Board of Commissioners at a Cumberland, York area local defense group meeting earlier this week. It was well attended. However, none of the York County commissioners were in attendance. A number of issues were discussed. BRAC always comes up. There appears to be no immediate concerns regarding any future BRAC. It was noted that the New Cumberland Depot and the Naval Depot definitely appear to be in the safe category. It was announced just some additional factual information. 2,300 weapon systems are supported at the DLA in New Cumberland. And it was also reported that this facility has gained a lot of value and respect in the last 20 years. They were also a big help to the Puerto Rican Hurricane Recovery Group. There were some announcements too that they're under a new warehouse management system in process to what they have. It was also announced that more state advocacy is needed. There were a number of state reps there. Another issue that came up was the 193rd National Guard Group, which is located over at HI8A, whether or not this group should be part of the Cumberland, York area local defense group. There was some discussion on that. No decision was made. There is a state survey being done of all the Pennsylvania defense installations. Jonathan Bowser was there and gave a good update on what's going on. He had mentioned that there is a feasibility study going on with the Carlisle Airport to see if the runway could be extended to 5,000 feet and whether or not that would allow for federal air traffic to come into that airport versus going over to the airport at Cap City. Funding from the state regarding BRAC procedures has been decreased to $661,000. That was also an issue of item of discussion, and we had no comment from our state reps on that. Gary, Jim, I have a handout for you. We'll get that to you today. Jim will electronically send it to you if need be. That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Dupuy. Commissioner Hartslow?
Okay, thank you, Sandy. Not an awful lot. The Harrisburg Area Transportation Study Coordinating Committee met Friday, December the 15th, and there was a presentation on the status of the required once every 4-year update of our MPO's Regional Transportation Plan. HAT staff is working on updates that should be available for review and public comment commencing in the spring, and in a fully online format, as I understand, although hard copies will be available by request. The updated long-range regional transportation plan is expected to come up for final adoption before the end of the year. Also at the December 15th meeting, administrative action items included the designation of $2 million in federal PennDOT discretionary funding that Cumberland County is receiving for the construction of the Cumberland Bridge rehabilitation project in South Middleton Township. This is, gentlemen, the funding supplement that we're receiving via PennDOT in recognition of our aggressive efforts to repair and replace structurally deficient county bridge, our county bridge infrastructure here in Cumberland County, along with the fact that we had adopted the $5 vehicle registration fee. There were a number of questions around the table with respect to whether, when, and if the federal government will finally step up to the plate and adopt an infrastructure investment plan. There's no doubt that the region's updated transportation plan is going to be identifying significant transportation needs that, quite frankly, will not be able to be addressed until the federal government, follows the action of the state government of a few years ago and finally does something meaningful and significant on this subject. The county's Housing and Redevelopment Authority boards met on Thursday, December 21. Not an awful lot to report from that, but after many years of service as a member of the Redevelopment Authority board, Tim Ebersol tendered his resignation from the board as a result of new job responsibilities at Shippensburg University. He was recognized for his service by members of the Redevelopment Housing Authority boards, and efforts are underway to recruit a new board member to take Tim's place, and I would like us as a board to send a letter to Tim thanking him for his dedicated service to our county and the Redevelopment Authority. The Affordable Housing Trust Fund Board met Tuesday of this week, although I was unable to be in attendance. I did receive a report from the meeting. The board conducted their annual reorganization meeting. Kelly Nider was elected chair. Ted Harrell was elected vice chair. A total of 32 families received down payment and closing cost assistance under the county's first-time homebuyers program in the past year. So far this year, 7 families have been approved for assistance. And as I reported previously, there's a need for consideration of reappointment of Beth Ellis as a member of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Board, and she has indicated her willingness to
Okay, just a handful of items. Like everybody else, the new year has kind of crimped the schedule for a lot of them. And a lot of the organizations and the meetings in earnest are just getting underway. So next week, I have meetings for Planning Commission. All of us have the Economic Development Corporation meeting, there's a recycling meeting, and an MHIPD meeting. So I'll have information from each of those at the time. I do have an update, just a little bit from Justin Miller of Recycling. He sent me the dashboard report, and I got copies here for you, but I'm able to send it electronically because it's pie charts, and they're not printed in color, so this gives new meaning to the phrase 50 Shades of Gray. So we have, but they're kind of decipherable, but how about I just send it to you electronically or print them out in color if you've got coloring in the So I can decipher enough of it to tell that in the phone calls coming into the office still largely deal with televisions and household hazardous waste. In November, those two were the big drivers constituting over half the calls. In December, it swung very heavily toward televisions. So I guess there's a lot of new TVs under the Christmas tree this year. People are getting rid of old ones, so a lot of interest in how to do that, of course. And I have data here as well regarding the continued success of the Electronic Recycling Center. They continue in December, still had 3,338 pounds average per day. That's a little reduced over each of the months, coming down from July height peak of 8,316 and continuing somewhat downward at a slower pace then. But that is the lowest average per day. It'll be interesting to see if that picks up again after Christmas, whether people were busy with the holidays or whether those old TVs just haven't hit the recycling bin yet. But Saturday continues to be by far the busiest day. So I think we made a good decision in pushing the idea of at least some Saturday hours right off the bat with the entire kickoff of the facility. It's far and away the most popular day, as you might expect. So I'll get the full report to you both a little later this morning. Then the only other item I wanted to mention was, I don't know if everybody mentioned that Monday is the annual meeting for the Capitol COG, and I'm planning to attend. I don't know if anybody else is.
Yeah.
They always appreciate our attendance there. It's always a
Jim, we can wheel you over there if need be.
yeah, we will wheel you.
Yeah, you guys, please extend my regrets. I forgot to mention that. I'm glad you're both able to attend.
Okay, excellent. We'll let them know if they don't already. So Vince made sure the ESAP members knew last night too. So.
Right.
So, because we know you're normally there. The only other item I wanted to mention was it came to my attention that we apparently do have an opening, an empty seat, I believe, on the Regional Airport Authority Board. Sandy Lloyd Bell had resigned a few months back, and I don't know that we've done any recruitment before that. So if anybody knows anybody who they think would be a positive addition there, I think we all got a copy of a letter from Jim Helsel, who's also our other representative. Jim's term is not up until December, but he's apparently evolved into a very involved member there. I think he's the treasurer now and has done some extra legwork for them, and they appreciate that. So he's been a very good appointment, and he would like to be reappointed. So we'll take that up at the end of the year, but I just wanted to mention that. But the Sandy Wood Bell seat is open. We can either advertise for that or just sort of troll through our list of those who've expressed interest in the past. So we can do it however we want. But it would be better to make sure that we're fully represented there, and sooner would be better. That's
Gary, did you say that Jim's term is not up until the end of this year coming up?
Yeah, he had mentioned something to me about it a month or two ago. He thought it was ending in 17, but he double checked with Sandy, I think, and it's at the end of 18, but he wanted to get his dibs in early because he
Yeah, sure. Well, I certainly support Jim's reappointment whenever the time is up. He has been getting very involved and appreciate that.
Yeah, that's this is the third seat, and as you know, on these regional boards, we sometimes really fight for a voice, and we're often at a disadvantage sometimes in terms of the vote count, so it would be good for us to fill that seat. That's all I have.
Thank you, Commissioner Eichelberger. I would like to report that executive sessions were held on the following dates: January 3rd, 2018 at 11 a.m., January 5th, 2018 at 9:45 a.m., January 10th, 2018 at 10:30 a.m. and 11 a.m. regarding potential litigation, January 9th, 2018 at noon regarding personnel issues. I would also like to request an executive session to be held directly after this meeting regarding personnel issues. Is there any other business to bring before the Board of Commissioners today? Okay, hearing none, we are adjourned.